The legislative session 2013-06 of the County Council of Cecil County is hereby called to order at 7 p.m. on March 19th of 2013. All members of the council are present for the quorum. Would everyone please join me in rising to the pledge of allegiance to the flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On our agenda this evening are 4 public hearings. If there's no objection to the council, I'd like to combine bill number 2013-101 and 2013-02. Both of these issues regarding repeal and enactment of purchase development rights standards of Code of Cecil County to establish Cecil County agricultural preservation districts and tax credits regarding these lands qualifying for agricultural preservation. Mr. Massey, would you please read the titles? Sure.
Bill number 2013-01, an act to repeal and reenact Chapter A385, Purchase of Development Rights, Section A385-3, Standards of the Code of Cecil County to establish Cecil County Agricultural Preservation Districts, introduced on February 19, 2013, advertised for tonight's public hearing on March 6th and March 13, 2013. Bill number 2013-02, an act to amend Chapter 337, Taxation, Article 2, Agricultural Tax Credit, Section 337-4, Land Qualifying for Credit, to add Cecil County Agricultural Preservation Districts to the provision for a tax credit, introduced on February 19, 2013, for advertisement for tonight's public hearing on March 6th and March 13, 2013.
Okay, tonight we're having a public hearing, and any member of the audience that would be heard can speak for or against either one of these 2 bills. But before we do that, I'm going to turn it over to Director of Planning and Zoning, Eric Centrum, to give us a description of what these bills are about.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. The 2 bills concern separate sections of the Code of Cecil County. 2013-01 concerns Chapter A385. Its language is adopted into the Code of Cecil County. It will allow Cecil County to establish agricultural districts through the local purchase of development rights program. The council was aware that the state, through the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation, is no longer creating agricultural districts. The state is seeking to streamline the process and just purchase development rights. However, the county has in the past established an incentive program at the local level to encourage people to take advantage of the land preservation options that are available to them by establishing a 50% tax credit for properties that had achieved district status through Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation, and 75% tax credit for those properties that had sold their development rights to the state. Obviously, that tax credit will disappear if the state no longer recognizes agricultural districts, so individuals in the county will no longer be able to avail themselves of the tax credit. If this language is approved, the county will be able to create agricultural districts through the local program, and people will be able to continue to request the tax credit as an incentive to preserve their agricultural lands. Bill 2013-02 is the actual tax credit portion. This language, if amended into the Code of Cecil County, will allow 50% tax credit to remain for those folks who elect to create a ag district locally. And with that, it is in for the public hearing tonight. As Mr. Massey has said, it has been introduced. The Planning Commission has recommended approval of these amendments to the Code of Cecil County.
All right, at this time, are there any council members that have any questions? Any? All right, I have a few. Mr. Centrum, are these programs totally voluntary?
Yes,
And these are programs that have already existed through the state programs in the past?
the ag districts have existed through the state. The tax credit has been a local incentive.
And this is not permanent easement. What is the current sign-up period? Or what's the proposed sign-up in the bill?
Right, for ag districts at the state level, there had been a 5-year commitment that individuals had to make. This language that is being proposed to be amended in the Code of Cecil County would be a 3-year period that individuals would need to commit to the program. They can, at any time during that, decide to apply to sell or development rights. They could go the entirety of the time period and extend, or they could terminate at the end of the time period. It would be their option to decide what's best for them in their particular circumstances.
But the current bills have a predetermined termination date.
Yes, you sign up for a minimum period of time. When that time expires, you can continue on, or you can elect to do something else if you choose to do so.
Okay, any last chance for the council members to ask questions? Hearing none, I will ask the public to step forward if you have any comments for or against either one of these two bills. Is there anyone that would like to speak tonight regarding these two bills? Seeing no one, then we will conclude the public comment period for these bills. That concludes the public comment period for bill number 2013-01 and bill number 20-1302. And we will consider this at our next legislative date, which is
April 2nd.
April 2nd. I will say that any citizen that feels that they didn't want to speak tonight can always send emails or letters or phone calls to the council members with their opinion on any of these bills that we're considering. The next public hearing is regarding resolution number 04-2013. Mr. Massey, would you read the short title?
Yes. Resolution number 04-2013, a resolution to amend the Cecil County Master Water and Sewer Plan, Chapter 3, Section 3.2.11, Artesian Water, Maryland, Inc., Section B, to add service to properties on the east side of Singerly Road. This resolution was introduced on February 19, 2013. It was advertised for tonight's public hearing on March 6th and March 13th.
Okay. Mr. Centrum, would you bring the council up to speed on this issue?
Certainly, Mr. President. Members of council, this resolution concerns an amendment to the Cecil County Master Water and Sewer Plan, both in the text of the document as well as the water service area map. The council is aware from the introductory hearing that there is a situation in Cherry Hill concerning contaminated wells due to the presence of trichloroethylene, or TCE, originally developed as an anesthetic and later used as an industrial solvent. The material has entered the drinking water aquifer and has made it difficult for individuals to use their wells, if not impossible. W.L. Gore & Associates has been supplying the affected properties with bottled water over the years. The recent extension of the water line by Artesian Water to the Gore facility has made a potable water supply available to individuals in the Cherry Hill vicinity so that they can abandon their wells and abandon the bottled water situation and again have potable water delivered to their dwellings. This amendment was before the Planning Commission at its February meeting. The Planning Commission has recommended approval. And to provide further information for the council's information this evening is Mr. D'Annunzio, Joe D'Annunzio, Executive Vice President of Artesian Water, who is in the audience this evening to provide additional elucidation for the board's edification.
Good evening. As Mr. Sandstrom said, Joseph D'Annunzio, Artesian Water, Executive Vice President, resident of Cecil County, Middle Road, Elkton. I'd like to just take a few moments to discuss the purpose of the proposed amendment, which is the subject of tonight's meeting and public hearing. As of the end of last year, as many of you know, and within about a year when Artesian purchased the county's water assets, we completed a $6 million project that brought water to the Cherry Hill area from our Delaware water system, going through the Meadowview system, and then on to Cherry Hill to provide water service to W.L. Gore, as well as the Kenmore Elementary and Cherry Hill Middle Schools. That project involved 19 different easements, 39 state and county permits to get it completed. Now that we have water service in the area, it's been brought to everyone's attention, as Mr. Sandstrom had noted, that there are properties on the east side of Singerly Road, Route 213, east of the Gore facility, that have had water contamination concerns. And now that water is available in the area, it was something that made sense to provide those people the opportunity to access public water service. Now, the opportunity, nobody is required or forced to obtain that water service. It is voluntary. But the current master water and sewer plan would not even allow the option without amendment, because that area is not designated for water service at all. The yellow that you see on the east side of Singerly Road there are the parcels in question being proposed to become a W2 service area under the master water and sewer plan. The gray area is already a W1 area within the master water and sewer plan. The hatched area represents the Artesian Water franchise in the area, so just to give you some perspective on the map. The one yellow area that goes beyond the hatch area to its east is only because it's a parcel that fronts on Singerly Road and happens to extend that far back. It just happens to be a larger parcel with a house that sits back from the road, but closer to the front portion. By allowing this change, again, everybody in that area would have the opportunity to acquire water service from Artesian if they should so desire. And with that, I just want to say that as Artesian, we truly do appreciate the opportunity to be able to serve the residents of Cecil County, and we hereby respectfully request your approval of this amendment. Thank you very much.
At this time, are there any questions or comments from the council members? Okay. The council will entertain comments from the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor or against the amendments to the master water sewer plan to accommodate the water service to these properties? Seeing no one speaking for it, that will conclude the public hearing on resolution number 04-2013. This will also be considered at our April 2nd meeting. The next resolution for public hearing tonight is resolution number 09-2013. And we will now open the public hearing on resolution number 09-2013 regarding enterprise zones. Would Mr. Massey please read the short title?
Resolution number 9-2013, a resolution to redesignate and expand the existing Cecil County Enterprise Zone for an additional 10 years. The Enterprise Zone provides real property and income tax credits to businesses located within the designated geographic area. The proposed zone is comprised of 6,793 acres and encompasses 9 business parks. This resolution was introduced on March 5th, 2013, advertised for tonight's public hearing on March 11th and March 18th.
Okay, with us tonight is our Economic Development Director, Lisa Webb. Would you make a presentation on the reason for this resolution?
Thank you, Council President Hodge, council members and public. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of the enterprise zone, some information for you, and the basis of why this is needed. So the Maryland Enterprise Zone is a program, it's a joint effort between state and local governments in the state of Maryland. It was established by the Maryland General Assembly. The Department of Business and Economic Development, DBED, is the designated controller for this. We report to them and they are responsible for that program. The Enterprise Zone was created in 1982. It provides tax incentives to businesses and to property owners that are located within this jurisdiction in some of the state's worst distressed areas. The intention of this is to attract capital investment and job creation and improve the quality of life in these areas. As noted on this map, there are 28 jurisdictions that are designated enterprise zones throughout the state. 6 of these zones will expire at the end of this year. As noted, these are the counties that have those enterprise zones and the expiration dates. It's maybe a little difficult to see on this map. We do have this also located on our website if any further detail, but these are the locations of the existing enterprise zones that will expire at the end of this year. There's 9 of them, all located within industrial parks. This is a picture of the renewed and expanded enterprise zone of which we would like to apply per this resolution. It is the same 9 industrial parks located throughout the county. The expansion included is in the Principio along Route 40 area. This shows you a little snapshot of the capital investment that has been created statewide. Cecil County has shown just about 59% increase with the utilization of this enterprise zone for capital investment in this county over a 10-year period. So what are the qualifications for an enterprise zone? They actually changed this year from the original application that we did. They changed the qualifications just a little bit, but we are working in our office diligently to make sure that we can qualify all the industrial parks that we have. It's up for redesignation every 10 years. We are eligible for that redesignation and expansion. We are basing it on the average rate of unemployment in Cecil County. The average rate of unemployment is an area or an area within reasonable proximity to an area applying for designation. It has to have a rate that's at least of unemployment that's at least 150% of the average rate of unemployment in either the state of Maryland or the United States, whichever is greater over an 18-month period. And Cecil County meets this criteria in 3 census tracts, which is how they track it. So it's 305.05, 309.06, and 309.05. These are the mapped locations of those census tracts. And as you can see, we are also those locations of the industrial parks that are in proximity to those census tracts, we are also including in this application. This gives you a brief synopsis of those benefits to property owners and to the tax credits, the income tax credits for business owners and for property owners. So there's 2 different tax credits in this enterprise zone. So if you're a new or expanding business that's within an enterprise zone, you can take a property tax credit based on the differential of your base assessment to your completed capital investment assessment. And it's 80% of that differential for 5 years. And then that decreases 10% for the next 5 years until the final year, which is a 30% tax credit. Income tax credits are available to the business owner creating jobs within that enterprise zone. They have to be a minimum of 35 hours a week, which is full-time employment. They also have to actively work in that zone. So if you are a business that hires someone, they have to work in that enterprise zone. They can't work somewhere else. And it's about that. It's a general income credit, $1,000 per qualified employee. And for economically disadvantaged employees, it's a $3,000, $2,000, and $1,000 decreasing rate for 3 years. So these are the locations: Triumph Industrial Park, Enterprise Zone. We mapped it so you could see the parcels. This is the application process of how they would like to accept the information. So we did the parcels and then the zoning of those parcels. And the zoning has to meet certain criteria as well. Broadlands Business Park, no change. Same parcels, zoning. Peninsula Industrial Park, also with its zoning, no change. And then Principio, the change is primarily those parcels that are south of 40. And its zoning. So our enterprise zone application right now is in a fairly complete form. We'd like to submit the application prior to the deadline of April 15th, so we have a seamless transition between the time we expire. We want to be able to have that as an incentive to attract additional capital investment into the corridor. We are submitting one application on behalf of all the enterprise zones. Some of those are located within municipalities of Port Deposit, Perryville, Northeast, and Elkton. So we are submitting one application for all of them. We're also working with them on making sure the mapping is consistent and the resolutions are also completed from the perspective of what they have to meet for their own resolutions. That's my brief presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
At this time, are there any questions or comments from the council members? Hearing none, the council will now entertain comments from the public regarding this resolution on enterprise zones. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for or against this resolution? Seeing none, we'll move forward and conclude the public comments section, or public hearing section of our agenda. This will also be considered by the County Council on April 2nd. I would like to make one comment. You didn't hear many questions from the council members, and I have to say that this is probably the third time that you've made a presentation before the council regarding this matter. So we've been thoroughly briefed several times on what's happening. So that's one of the reasons we're not here asking a ton of questions, because we've heard it before. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes of March 5th, 2013? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Approve the minutes as presented. There's been a motion to approve the meeting minutes of March 5th. Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes for March 5th as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes, please signal by saying aye. Aye. The meeting minutes are hereby approved by unanimous consent. The next section of our agenda is public comment. call your names, and you have 5 minutes to speak to the council, please, in a respectful, civil tone. And please say your name and where you live when you come to the podium. Will the council manager please announce the first name?
Alreasin.
Good evening, council members. Alreasin, 632 Conwayville Road, Conwayville, Maryland. There's been some discussion in the past couple of weeks concerning travel. I would suggest that we've been through this loop as county employees. I'm not a county employee, but the county has been through this loop with county employees. I would suggest, rather than reinventing the wheel, since it was indicated at one point in time at one of the meetings that council people are effectively county employees, shouldn't be treated any better, any worse. Therefore, I would suggest that you just accept what the county already does and let the chips fall where they may. On another issue, you voted today to oppose unanimously, if I remember correctly, oppose SB 281 and HB 274, the gun control measures that are presently going through the legislature. There will be a town hall meeting Thursday, March 25th, this coming Thursday, on Fox 45 town hall meeting at 7 o'clock for 1 hour. The discussion will be those particular bills, so you can see, if you wish, what individuals think about these bills. It will be obviously on both sides. I'm not sure of the format. There are no more positions open for the town hall meeting. It's filled on both sides now. But you can certainly watch that on Channel 45 Thursday evening at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Massey, would you read the next name?
Harold Mechanic.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I would like to question the sequence of the council's agenda. Recently, there was a change in sequence. I believe that the issues of the meeting should be discussed before public comment, not the other way around. Otherwise, public comment will be limited to the previous meeting 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know what's ahead of us in this meeting, but I would like the opportunity to comment on it after, after the business is discussed. I ask for council to please reverse this policy for the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
There are no more.
Is there anyone else that would like to make comments to the council tonight before we close this section of our agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to comments from council president and the council members. Which council member would like to go first?
I'll go first. I had a rather long and detailed report this morning, and I'll try to keep it brief. Last Wednesday, I attended a group discussion called Expressions that's sponsored by the Department of Aging and monitored by Upper Bay Counseling. And it's a group discussion where participants talk about crises in their lives, like losing a husband or a sibling, or getting, you're not being able to drive anymore, health issues. And it was just a really good experience. And they're held every Wednesday at 10:30 at the Department of Aging. On Thursday, I attended the Athena Awards and congratulate Stephanie Garrity, as well as the other 3 nominees, Karen Holt, Raymond McRoberts, and Tina Travers. I also, on Thursday, attended a lunch and learn with the Department of Aging. They hold these sessions monthly, they're open, and this month was the history of Bainbridge, what it was and what it is today. On Friday, I toured Bilbin Manor Elementary and Cecil Manor Elementary Schools with DeEtte Devine and Dawn Branch from the Board of Education, who went into 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and 5-year-old classrooms, and it was an experience. But some of the interesting statistics that I thought you should know is that there are 447 homeless students in this county, and that number just staggered me. 41 of them are at Bilbin Manor. The mobility rate at Gilpin is 51%, which means that since the beginning of the school year, 127 students have enrolled and 115 students left. Developing curriculum for this type of student is extremely difficult, and I was impressed with the mechanisms in place. At Cecil Manor, we sat in a behavioral support classroom that is a temporary placement for students who need a more restrictive environment in order to learn appropriate behavior. There are 6 kids in this program right now, and they come from different schools, and they stay at Cecil Manor. Then they're eventually put into a regular classroom at Cecil Manor, and then they go back to their regular school. The mobility rate at Cecil Manor has 78 students enrolled in August and 78 students withdrawn since then. So it's like an open door. The students were a real delight, and I really enjoyed that tour. On Saturday, I went to the Pierce Creek meeting held at Bohemian Manor High School Auditorium. And as I said this morning, my take on that meeting, be it right or wrong, is that the Army Corps of Engineers is bent on reopening Pierce Creek as a dredge dump site. Since they indicate there are no other viable sites, I think that MDE will be swayed into issuing the necessary permits because of the economic impact on the state if the shipping channels become unnavigable because they can't dredge them. And what I would like to see is a concentration on the water situation for the residents of the area. I don't see the affected homeowners as stakeholders. I see them as victims. And I think that it's really important that we work hard to remedy the situation and to get a community water system or some system in place to get their water fixed. I only hope we see federal, state, and state aid to help solve the problem by whatever means is deemed most feasible by the residents and the involved agencies. The Health Department is also sponsoring a public education program entitled Mental Health First Aid. And it's a 12-hour course. It's going to be held on April 18th and 19th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You have to enroll. And if you go through this course, you will become a certified first aid person for mental health. I plan to take the course. I think it'll be interesting. They say it's good for business leaders, faith communities, school personnel, educators, state police, just anybody, really. So if you're interested at all, call the health department. Also, reminder of 2 things coming up. The Elgin Chamber of Commerce and the Elgin Alliance is hosting the 2012 Citizen of the Year banquet on this coming Thursday, March 21st. The honoree is Ruth Anna, we know as Frenchie, Lightcap. She runs the Good as New shop for the Junior Boarding Union Hospital. And lastly, on Friday, will be the 4th Annual Chef's Challenge from 6 to 9 at Rising Sun Banquet Hall.
I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention, the next drug awareness workshop will be on community policing. It's scheduled for April 11th, 6:30 p.m. at Cecil College in the Technology Building, room 208. Sheriff Bain of Harford County will review community policing programs that have worked effectively in Harford County, and Sheriff Janney will review programs that are currently in Cecil County. How HIDO will assist the county in fighting drug trafficking and discuss new programs we would like to promote. The Keep Cecil Clean campaign is gaining momentum. Ken Salmon first started speaking up on the growing litter problem in the county, and she motivated Roger Lamb, a concerned citizen from Rising Sun, to step up to the plate to organize a cleanup event on Earth Day. We held a meeting on Friday with Van Funk and Sean McCandless of the Sediment and Stormwater Division, and Roger shares his ideas for addressing the litter problems in the county. We wanted to research the effectiveness and cost of anti-littering signs with fines. Van had mentioned that the schools wanted to participate in a cleanup campaign. There will be more information forthcoming, and I believe Roger's event is scheduled for Earth Day, April 22nd. Another citizen, Michael LePan, said he would be organizing a cleanup for his neighborhood next month, and I'm still waiting to hear back from both Michael and Roger what areas they will be focusing their cleanup efforts on. If you would like to participate or organize a group in your neighborhood, and you may be eligible to apply for a waiver of trash fees at the landfill, and you would go on the CCGov website to the solid waste page. There's an application on there.
Also, on April 20th, Perryville will be holding their annual River Sweep event, and you can register online at headourtrails.com. On March 13th, I attended the Drug and Alcohol Council meeting, and the guest speaker was Angela Priest, Delaware Deputy Attorney General from the Department of Justice, and she shared the findings from the Prescription Drug Abuse Summit held on November 16th to address the growth of prescription drug abuse addiction, discuss recent steps taken to combat the issue and examine solutions. Thought it was a very insightful meeting. She provided a lot of useful tips on what we could do here in the state and in the county. On Saturday, I attended a meeting, the same meeting that Joyce and Commissioner McCarthy and Councilman Hodge attended at Pierce Creek. With representatives from the Army Corps of Engineers, the Maryland Port Authority, and NDE, the Health Department. It was enlightening to hear there was only 30+ people that responded to get their water tested, and a lot of the people said they didn't get notices. So they're going to be sending another request out, certified, and I hope that they will follow through in getting their water tested. They provided the residents primarily from Bayview and Westview Shores a background on the required maintenance dredging dilemma of finding a location suitable for the spoils now that Pools Island has been closed. There seems to be no available site at APG, and offshore dumping is no longer permitted. The cheapest solution is using Pierce Creek and Town Point, but the community is adamant that they would like to see the federal government fund a community water system to address the infiltration of runoff to their wells from the dredge spoil site. And I think this is the perfect example of the state and federal government having a different set of standards that they apply to themselves, whereas they don't think twice about putting mandates on us and the costs that are associated. Once again, the dam is a big issue in this, the dredge spoils, because the sediment if the Conowingo Dam is not addressed in 5 years, the sediment running off will be so much more that the dredge spoil sites will be used up, and it'll be very difficult for them to contain and come up with another area. So hopefully this will be another way for us to put pressure on getting the dam addressed. Also, on Friday, I'll be getting a tour of Providence School with Principal Louis Burton, and he's been a supporter of, he's come out to the drug awareness events, and I'm looking forward to that meeting. And if any of the council wants to go along, let me know.
Thank you. Councilman Dunn?
Thank you for coming this evening, and I mentioned this morning, but I guess I'll go ahead and repeat it myself since everyone else seems to be. Back on March the 9th, I attended a Second Amendment rally up in Rising Sun, organized by Campaign for Liberty, and it was great to see so many people come out. I think it was close to 400 that day, and let their local state delegate know where they stand on this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McCarthy?
Yes, thank you for coming this evening. On March 9th, I went to the Cecil County Firehouse and awarded 8 certificates of recognition to many firemen. On the 13th, I attended the Cecil County Detention Center tour. It took approximately 4 hours. During the interview, they basically detailed how the inmates are kept. Most of them were there for basically pre-trial hearings and so forth. But the most amazing thing was the cost to tour these folks is like $35,000 per year, which is probably more than we spend on anything else in this county. On the 16th, which was Saturday, we had a 4-hour basically dissertation by the Corps of Engineers, which pertains to the Pierce Creek dredge site material. Mrs. Bowlesby and Councilman Brunel went over that. In front of me, I basically have something that might be of interest, and this is from the Chesapeake, the Clean Chesapeake Coalition, which used to be the TMDL Coalition. I'm just going to give you some highlights here. The objective of the Clean Chesapeake Coalition is to pursue involved improvement of water quality of the Chesapeake Bay in a prudent and, let me quote, financially responsible manner. They intend to do this by dredging or removing or addressing in any way that they can the 84 years of sediment accumulated behind the dam. They want to devote resources to the best agricultural management methods. They basically would like to restore the oyster bay-wide and use power dredging to do this. After the last major rain event, the oyster bars, which they did have, were buried under 2 feet of sediment. They want to replace this submerged aquatic vegetation. They want to invest in wastewater treatment modernization to basically decrease the nitrogen loads in the bay. And they also want to test and develop cost-effective septic systems for the state. Just real simply, if the numbers that were presented to me on Saturday are correct, they say that 18,700,000,000 pounds of sediment run out of the drainage area served by the Susquehanna River. To give you an idea how big that might be, it's larger than the entire state of West Virginia by 10%. If you were to take the sediment and divide it by a ton, which is 2,000 pounds, you'd end up with 9,350,000 tons of sediment, which comes down the river on an annual basis. If you were to put this in dump trucks, 15 tons in a truck, that would be 623,000 dump trucks. Put them bumper to bumper, that would extend from here to San Francisco and come back to Denver. That is how much stuff comes out of that area on an annual basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I thank everyone for coming out tonight, and I want to respond to the comment about our agenda. And there was a reason that our agenda was revamped, and let me explain why. First of all, I thought it was important that we have public comment section near the beginning of the meeting before we consider bills and resolutions, because we want to hear from the public after we've introduced them, but before we consider them. It's your comments and your input after the fact really aren't going to make an impact on our decision. But when we don't have public or hearings, or even after a public hearing, it gives you one last chance to speak with the council on an issue that we will be considering later on in the agenda. So we want you to have multiple opportunities to have an impact on our decision-making process. Also, by having the citizens speak before the council members, we can also try to address any comments or questions that you may have if we think it's an appropriate time and place to do so. Which segues into the next section of our agenda, which is the introduction of resolution number 18-2013, appointments to Cecil County Plumbing Board. Would the council manager please read this word title?
Resolution number 18-2013, appointment Cecil County Plumbing Board. A resolution to confirm appointments from the county executive to the Cecil County Plumbing Board. Introduced by the council president on behalf of the county executive. Introduced and order posted March 19, 2013. Scheduled for consideration on April 2nd, 2013.
Okay, is there any comments from the executive branch on this resolution?
Mr. President, council members, as Council Manager Massey stated, the county executive is submitting these 3 names for reappointment for your confirmation at the April 2nd meeting. All 3 are existing members.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the council regarding this resolution?
Just out of curiosity, do you know what their duties are?
Plumbing code related matters, I believe complaints that originate in permits and inspections primarily.
I think that if a contractor is found in violation of the following code and they disagree with the interpretation of the code, then the matter would go before this board for consideration and discussion on whether the inspector was overzealous or inaccurate in his interpretation.
Mr. President, would it be appropriate to read the names of the three people so that the
Sure.
public knows who they are?
Sure.
I'll read it. Ronald Dixon, Melvin Reburn, and Thomas L. Vaughn Sr. are the three people who are under consideration.
Is there any other questions or comments regarding this resolution? Hearing none, we'll consider this resolution introduced and we'll consider it on our April 2nd meeting after 7 p.m. The next item on our agenda is considerations of resolutions that were previously introduced. The first resolution for action is resolution number 10-2013. Would the council manager please read the short title?
Yes, that's resolution 10-2013. A resolution to establish the redistricting commission for 2013, introduced and order posted on March 5th, 2013, scheduled for consideration on March 19th.
Mr. Massey, would you please read the members of that committee?
Sure.
Commission.
From the Democratic Central Committee, District 1, Benny Eliason of Elkton. District 2, H. Norman Wilson of Elkton. District 3, Bob Porter of Elkton. District 4, Pam Howard of Port Deposit. District 5, James Krause of Elkton. Republican Central Committee nominees. District 1, Anna Maria Bluler of Earlville. District 2, Phil Sterninger of Elkton. District 3, Jerry Carpenter of Elkton. District 4, Jerry Root of Perryville, and District 5, Diana Carabetta of Perryville. And nominated to be the chair is William Harris of Cecilton.
Are there any questions or comments from the council members regarding this resolution? This resolution was introduced at our last legislative meeting on March 5th, and it has been posted for action tonight. Is there a motion to approve this resolution, number 10-2013? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's been a motion and a second to approve resolution number 10-2013. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to call the vote. The motion is to approve resolution number 10-2013, the establishment of the redistricting commission and selecting the members of that commission. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries unanimously, 5-0. The next resolution, time out, I'm sorry. Should we have had a roll call rather than a voice?
It's at your option, but it's usually roll call.
Resolutions, we can have voice.
Sure.
Bills, we need to be roll call.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, the next resolution is resolution number 11-2013, regarding the establishment of Citizens Budget Advisory Board. Would the council manager please read the short title?
Appointments, Resolution 11-2013, appointments to the Citizens Budget Advisory Board. A resolution to establish the Citizens Budget Advisory Board for fiscal year 2013. The nominees are District 1, Paul Trapani. District 2, William Feely. District 3, Richard Boyle. District 4, Gary Benjamin. District 5, James Buckowitz.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the council members? You.
It's been noted that these folks have functioned in this capacity now for their second week, and they've done an excellent job.
Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution number 11-2013?
I move to be approved the appointed members.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve resolution number 11-2013 to approve the establishment of the Citizens Budget Advisory Board. Is there any discussion? I'll just reinforce the same comment that Councilman McCarthy has mentioned, that even though they were not officially formally established, they've already been participating in at least 2 budget presentations, and I think that there will be a very valuable resource for the council in reviewing and commenting and evaluating the budget.
Also, I had brought this up in my first year being elected. We didn't know how the Budget Advisory Committee was going to go. We had some of the members, I believe 2 of them, have been part of the committee since the very beginning. And I have to say, they do bring some another perspective. They ask a lot of questions. It gives us another opportunity to get more information to make good decisions. So I'm very pleased with the way, the direction it's gone in.
Any further discussion by any council members? Hearing that, I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The vote carries with the affirmative to pass the resolution to establish the Citizens Budget Advisory Board. This council will now consider action on resolution number 12-2013, authorizing the power of Cecil County to issue new bonds. Would the council manager please read through that?
Resolution number 12-2013, refunding bonds of 2013. A resolution to authorize and empower Cecil County, Maryland to issue and sell an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $24 million par value, subject to adjustment as provided herein, of zero maturity, general obligation, fully registered bonds authorized by Article 31, Section 24 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, 2010 replacement volume. Such bonds to be designated Cecil County, Maryland refunding bonds of 2013. Such bonds to be sold and issued for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding general obligation bonds of the county in order to realize savings to the county in the aggregate cost of debt service. All is hereafter described to prescribe the form and tenor of such bonds, the form of the notice of public sale thereof, and the terms and conditions of the public sale and issuance thereof, including the manner of advertisement of such sale, to prescribe the bidding process procedures to be used at such sale, to prescribe the terms of such bonds and all other details incidents thereto, to authorize the execution and delivery of an escrow deposit agreement between the county and Manufacturers and Traders Trust Company as escrow deposit agent, to provide for the payment as and when due of the interest on and principal and redemption price of the general obligation bonds that are to be refunded, to provide for the redemption of the refunded bonds that are to be redeemed prior to their respective maturities on the earliest practical dates as described herein, to provide for the levy and collection of taxes in rate and amount sufficient, together with the funds from other sources, to pay the principal of and interest on such bonds as they mature, and to provide generally for the sale, issuance, and delivery of such bonds. introduced by the council president on behalf of the county executive, introduced and order posted on March 5th, 2013, scheduled for consideration March 19th, 2013.
Mr. Robinson, Finance Director, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
We just want to say that at this time, we believe that the refunding of these bonds is in the best interest of the county. The actual interest rates and the amounts of the bonds changes every day and will continue to be analyzed up until the expected sale date, which is April 23rd.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not asking for any new money.
No, we're
This is
not.
all refinancing of existing debt, and your expectation is to save significant amount of interest expense by a lower interest rate.
Yes, it is.
Are there any questions or comments from the council members? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution number 12-2013 regarding the refunding or refinancing of some of our county debt?
I move that we adopt refunding bonds 2013.
Is there a second? There's been a motion and a second to approve resolution number 20-2013. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, I'd like to call the vote. All those in favor of approving resolution number 12-2013, say aye. Aye. The motion carries in the affirmative, and it is approved 12-2013. The next resolution for the council to consider is resolution number 13-2013 regarding the consent order with the Maryland Department of Environment. Will the council manager please read the title?
Resolution number 13-2013. Consent order, Maryland Department of the Environment, Northeast River Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant. A resolution regarding the census order between the State of Maryland Department of the Environment and Cecil County, Maryland, with regard to the enhanced nutrient removal, ENR, upgrade of the Northeast River Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant. Introduced by the council president on behalf of the county executive, introduced and order posted on March 5th, 2013, scheduled for consideration on March 19th, 2013.
Mr. Flanagan, the Director of Public Works, do you have anything to add?
As you might recall from the work session 2 weeks ago when this was first introduced, the net effect of this consent order is to adjust the completion date for the ENR upgrade. It's currently written into the discharge permit in 2015, which we are, for reasons I think you understand, not going to meet. And what this consent order does is to adjust those deadlines, move them out to 2017.
Are there any questions or comments from the council members?
Yeah, I'd like to, I'll go ahead and make my statement now. I will not be voting in favor of resolution 13-2013. The consent order includes a schedule assuming we will be incorporating a membrane bioreactor system, MBR, into our Seneca Point treatment plant. I do appreciate the President Hodge had said at the Citizens Corner, if this doesn't obligate us to stick with this system, that we could still follow through on a pilot test or more research before we decide which system to go with. It does obligate us to the schedule though. The funding for this project, the reasons that I cannot support this resolution is the funding for this project will cost the county an estimated $20 million even after we have applied the $10.9 million received from MDE to become ENR compliant, and it will not increase our current capacity of 2 MGD. We can become ENR compliant by using the 10.9 million and incorporating the denitrification filter in our current design. This was the proposal MDE approved by our consultant, GHD, as the most inexpensive way to reach ENR standard, and we would still have the same capacity. While the MBR system would allow Seneca Point to expand up to 10 MGD without purchasing any additional land, other systems are also available which could do so cheaper in both capital and operational costs, such as the Biomag system. Assuming that the flow at the northeast wastewater treatment plant increases from the present day 1 MGD to 2 MGD between now and 2030, this would represent a growth rate of 4.2% per year. The economy in general is expected to grow around 2% in the future, according to many economists. Based on the last 18 years of growth at the Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant, the projected flows for the years 2030 and 2035 would fall between 1.6 and 2.0 MGD, assuming the old growth projection. New growth population projections fall between 1.5 and 1.8 MGD. Wastewater treatment science is evolving. There very well could be a cheaper alternative than the MBR solution in the near future. If a new system is incorporated, we should do a pilot test to see which of the technologies are the best fit before we commit to a $20 million project. So for these reasons, also I wanted to point out, this took a lot of research. I had to contact people that could provide the information to me. This was one of the reasons I had advocated for an in-house auditor. So, just that.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions regarding this consent order?
Sure, I'll be very brief. I think I concur with most of that statement. I'll just say I think we're committing ourselves here to a very expensive course of action, and I'll be voting no on the motion. Even though I don't think we had a motion yet, did we? But nevertheless.
I'd like to have a motion to approve the resolution.
Basically, I will move that we approve the consent order between Maryland Department of Environment and Northeast River Advanced Wastewater Treatment Plant. That will be resolution 13-2013.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the resolution number 13-2013, approving the consent order between the State of Maryland, Department of Environment, and Cecil County. Is there any further discussion?
I just want the public to understand that this is just approving the timeline, not the method of how it's going to be accomplished.
Right, my comment is that we are not setting in concrete any type of treatment system. We're not setting into motion any dollar amount. This only brings our current operating permit with Maryland Department of Environment into compliance with new deadlines for upgrading our wastewater treatment system, because we have fallen behind in our current permit, and we need to bring ourselves into compliance. It does not assure that the county is going to go in any particular direction. I'm sure there will be plenty of discussion, particularly during our budget process. When we're talking about our capital improvement budget plans, there will be a lot of discussion. There will be a lot of explaining by the Public Works Department on why they believe that the course of action that they've been going in is the best, and I'm sure that there'll be a lot of questions from the council to make sure that we are doing the right thing, because this is going to be a very expensive project. So we have a motion, we have a second on the floor to approve resolution number 13-2013. I would like to have a roll call vote for this motion. Please, with Mr. Massey, please call the roll.
Dr. McCarthy?
Aye.
Mr. Dunn? Ms. Bowlesby?
Aye.
Ms. Bromell,
No.
President Hodge,
Aye. Are you calculating the votes?
3 to 2, it passes.
The motion passes 3 to 2. The resolution passes approving the motion. We'll now consider action on resolution number 14-2013, a resolution requesting that Chesapeake Bay Trust provide a grant to Cecil County. Would Council Manager please read this real title?
Resolution number 14-2013, support watershed assistant grant water quality projects. A resolution requesting that the Chesapeake Bay Trust make a grant to the Cecil County Department of Public Works to design and implement water quality projects within the Northeast River watershed at the local elementary and middle schools. Introduced by Council President at the request of the County Executive, introduced and order posted on March 5th, 2013, scheduled for consideration on March 19th, 2013.
Director Flanagan, do you have anything to add? Are there any questions from the council members? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to approve resolution number 13-20. 14-2013.
I move that we approve resolution number 14-2013.
I will second
There's been a motion and a second to approve resolution number 14-2013. I'll call it a verbal vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0 to approve the resolution 14-2013. Is there any other business before the council? Otherwise, I ask for a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. The next council meeting, legislative session will be Tuesday, April 2nd at 7 p.m. here in the Upper Room. Thank you for your attendance.